Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2024 Justin and Tyler Movie Awards, and we now move on as part of our People section of the awards to the Best Actors of 2024. Same process as Best Directors, 3 honorables apiece, and then number 3, number 2, and number 1. Tyler's going to kick us off this time with his honorable mentions.
All right, so my 3 honorable mentions are Michael Keaton in Goodrich,
Ooh.
Hugh Grant in Heretic, and Ryan Gosling in The Fall Guy.
Okay.
All right, so Michael Keaton in Goodrich pretty much exemplifies the stoicism of a character like this. The dad who's fairly complex. He's not the greatest dad, but not because he's abusive or anything, just kind of absent for a bunch of his daughter's life.
Mm-hmm.
But he exhibits the I'm okay, because he's kind of going through the movie. He's just you can kind of feel that he's not really okay, but he's trying to exhibit that he is. And there's just some good layers to this guy. No explosive moments, I don't think, in the whole movie. Just an endearing kind of character that even when there's subtle moments of he does cry a little bit here and there, it feels earned. Hugh Grant in Heretic it reminds me a lot of someone like Jigsaw and Saw, where there is a logic to what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, he's a lunatic who layers his horrors with theological talk.
Right.
There's a lot of talking, and he's kind of just slightly calm, but a little menacing the whole time. Kind of a little more subtle. No real hysterics, which I actually think kind of benefits the performance. He's more of a spiteful atheist, but pretending to be either religious or agnostic, which I found intriguing. And there's moments where the girls say something, and it looks like Hugh Grant's actually thinking about it. But then you're kind of but then he nails being superficial because he's already a lunatic with a set of beliefs. So how much is he really listening? And I think Hugh Grant kind of gets that question across. Okay, he looks like he's listening, but I don't really think he is. I actually think that was a strong element of his performance. And it's really just kind of nice seeing him as a villain.
Yes.
Which is nice. And Ryan Gosling is a not really a deep pick. I use this at the mid-year, but someone in Letterboxd said Ryan Gosling's Riz could power a nation. I agree.
That's very true.
He was in my mid-year, I think.
He was your pick
I think he
for
was.
the mid-year.
I dropped him to honorable mention, not because he isn't deserving of being in the top 3. Just it's a fun performance, very charismatic. Gosling will have lots of opportunities to get on this in the future,
yes.
and I think he'll probably have more complex roles. Mm-hmm. But his chemistry with Blunt is awesome. I always love seeing Ryan Gosling, and this is kind of a character he's really meant for. So while he didn't make it to the top 3, the guys I had a lot of problem with Gosling, and then the top 3, I had a hard time figuring out who to put on honorable mention, and Gosling. He got put on there, but you could shuffle him to the top 3 and I'd be completely fine with it.
Totally.
I wouldn't argue it. So, yeah, those are my 3.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, as soon as you said Ryan Gosling, I was like, wait a minute. Because I think he was the choice at the mid. So that's the second time that's happened, that your choice at the mid-year has gotten shuffled to an honorable.
See a lot of movies in that time.
That's true.
It doesn't make the performance any worse or anything. It's just
hey guys, lots of good movies coming.
They're just limited spots.
It's true. My honorable mentions for Best Actor of 2024 are Anthony Hopkins for One Life, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, and the ensemble. This is where I'm taking your
taking my
straight out of Compton methodology here. The ensemble from the Bike Riders, So we're talking about Austin Butler, Tom Hardy, Norman Reedus, and Michael Shannon. Because I feel like their interplay off of each other, really, especially Austin Butler and Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
But I mean, like the kind of secondary role that Michael Shannon has and the tertiary role that Norman Reedus has, they all interplay with each other so well. And I really couldn't make the justification for any one of them standing out, but I loved that ensemble performance so much that I had to honor it in that way. And The Bike Riders was, again, a fantastic movie, and I love the way that you see the way that movie treats male bonding, and you see how it is represented specifically through these four characters. So I guess that's my conversation about that ensemble. Coleman Domingo and Sing Sing. Sing Sing was actually close to being another ensemble performance, just because I'm so crazy impressed by the fact that that movie is filled with the actual prisoners and actual people that went through what the movie is based on, and then you just have like an actor with incredible talent in Coleman Domingo just kind of dropped in the middle of that. But it doesn't feel that way. None of them feel like, oh, you're not, like, none of you are really like classic, or very few of you are like trained actors. But it feels very lived in because it is, and feels very authentic because it is. But ultimately I settled on Coleman Domingo because, again, he's very quickly becoming one of my absolute favorite performers. And every time I see his name attached to something, I'm like, yes, Coleman Domingo, put that on the list, make that a priority, because you're going to get one of the better performances of the year, and that's what I felt like I got out of Domingo and Sing Sing. And Anthony Hopkins, One Life. So One Life is the story of Nicholas Winton. And I was familiar with Nicholas Winton because, like a ton of people, I've seen the viral talk show clip that's at the basis of the movie. It's this incredible moment, and he's such a poised and experienced and highly talented performer where you don't see him very often. No. But when you see him and you see he put his name on something, especially at the lead of something like this, we know that it's likely to be something special. And with One Life, he's the full driving force of 95% of the emotion of that movie. And it wound up being a very good movie, and it's basically solely on the shoulders of one of the greats of all time in Anthony Hopkins. So he fell just short of making the top three, but he was very good in that movie.
Yeah, I didn't see One Life, but I I agree with you. I don't have much to add. The Bike Riders, yeah, there wasn't one single performance in that made me go, oh yeah, this has to be like in serious consideration. I've kind of stepped back a little bit from like the ensemble stuff. Like I'm only trying to pick it more, less liberally, I suppose. But it's cool that you did. I do agree though with your points of that they're just a great ensemble performance. So yeah, that's good picks.
Sweet.
Always love seeing some Bike Riders love.
There you go. My
number 3 is Josh Hartnett in Trap.
Wow.
What you don't know about me is I've secretly been a big fan of him all these years.
Oh man, okay.
I don't know why. I just kind of remember there was this period of time where he was in a lot of stuff. Like,
yes, I do.
I feel like it was like early 2000s maybe.
Yep.
Like Lucky Number 7 and a bunch of other stuff.
He was a Hollywood heartthrob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always liked him. And I've kind of over the last few years been like, what's he in? What's he in? Nothing of any real interest. But then it was like, oh, Trap. We got a pretty big, movie, like a big director, and he's kind of like the main dude. And I was like, let's go. And to be honest, it's a pretty complex character, like not that we haven't seen it done before, but a serial killer living a double life. Kind of, you got to be kind of menacing.
Yeah.
And then loving to your family, and especially considering the premise of him being in a trap and kind of like being worried about his own survival, but then being at this concert with his daughter, and old Joshy Poo needed to show off some layers. And I know nobody else will pick him, but I find him incredibly charismatic. I know it's a weird pick, but it feels right. You know?
That is the most out of left field pick that I feel you've had so far.
I just think he needs more credit.
Wow.
I need him to reemerge and kind of be more of like he was, because I just like the guy.
Yeah.
So there's some bias there that for some reason I just like him. But yeah. So anyway, Josh Hartnett in Trap.
It's okay. How many times have I put Anya Taylor-Joy on something when it's just like, look, unbiased? My number 3 best actor of 2024 is going to be a fairly quick one because I talked about him at the mid-years. It's Ryland Brixton Cole-Tooze from Hundreds of Beavers. And it's for the exact same reasons for what I talked about in the mid-years. Because when you have to have basically the entirety of your performance come through in, well, first of all, the use of no color, the use of basically no dialogue. It all has to be pantomime. It all has to be physical comedy. It all has to be facial expressions and body movement. And when all of your performance has to be through that, I think it's something special when you can pull it off and have it be as good and as clear in delivering the message and the tone of the movie. And I just thought he did a spectacular job in having that much kind of hamstringing telling his story, but still being able to tell the story with that level of quality of the movie. So again, I'm kind of chewing my food twice on that one, but Ryland Brixton Cole-Tooze hangs on to be my number 3 best actor of 2024.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be quick too. I agree. Everything that you praised him for, I agree. I think that's you don't really see that kind of acting much anymore because it's not necessary, and most people don't want to see what's essentially a silent flick in this day and age. So it's very rare to see it, and it's a very unique movie and very unique performance in that sense. And you know who else does like that kind of physical like acting with like no dialogue, basically? My number 2, David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown in Terrifier.
Yes! Beautiful.
So I was hesitant to put him in it because he was in here for Terrifier 2, but honestly, he's probably going to be in there in Terrifier 4 because the guy is so endlessly entertaining, and I have to show love to the performance. Like Art the Clown is the most fun horror villain maybe of all time to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, there's a reason that... I mean, it's not the only thing good about these movies, but there's a reason that it very much hangs on him, right? Like, the rest of it can be great, but it is very much... There's a reason people are like, Art the Clown, Art the Clown, Art the Clown. Here's the Art the Clown gif. Here's...
Right.
Because he says nothing, and yet says everything. Yeah, like everything about it. It's so perfect the way he goes from being like having a lot of fun, like when he sees Santa, to just changing on a dime when someone does something he doesn't like, and you're like, oh no. Like you knew he was gonna die anyway, but now he's upset. You made him upset. I could disqualify him from future movies just based on him playing the same character every time, but I also feel like I don't know if I can. Because when you think of like your best performances of the year, it's like, yeah.
Right.
Like unless he completely shits the bed next time, which I doubt, because arguably he got better in this one.
Like if we were doing this in the 2000s, I'm trying to think like, okay, so would I have not given Viggo Mortensen 3 nods for playing Aragorn just because he played the same character 3 times? I'd be like, no, I definitely would not have. So yeah, no, and I'm also afraid that if you disqualify him, he will come for us. Speaking of David coming in and taking it up a few levels, my number 2 best actor of 2024, David Dastmalchian for Late Night with the Devil.
We got this like weird chain going.
We do. David came in, he stepped it up a few levels. Like we kind of talked about it a little bit. It might have even been off camera, but no, I think it might have been on. Just like to finally have him kind of have the opportunity to take center stage in something with like some buzz to it, and like I mean this movie was like the biggest movie in the world when it first dropped. Everybody was talking about Late Night with the Devil. So the fact that he kind of got that starring role and more people could kind of come to understand like this guy's really good. We've only ever kind of seen him on the boundaries of things before. Yeah. But I was like, geez, this guy's really talented. And in Late Night with the Devil, he really gets a chance to run the emotional gamut of stress and happiness and fear and sadness, and like he gets to run the gamut in this movie, and I just feel like he brought that performance to a level. Like that movie could have not only totally fallen apart at the end without a better lead performer, or could have fallen apart long before that if you didn't have the quality of lead performer and the believability of lead performer that you have in a movie with that concept that's made in that way. I feel like that it really could have flown apart, and because of the talent of David Dastmalchian, it didn't. So I'm giving him number 2.
Yeah, I considered him, but ended up cutting him off. But it is nice to see somebody who really has been around for quite some time, and yet I don't know that I remember him as much of anything in most movies. But then he comes in here and is like, yeah, I belong here. Not that you need to do that, because he's always been solid. But yeah, I really like that pick. I'm glad that you're showing that movie a lot of love in these, because you may remember it was my number 1 at the mid-years. My number 1 is interesting because this guy really got no love in the movie awards up until the last couple of years, and now he's like becoming like a movie awards darling. But Ralph Fiennes in Conclave.
Hey, there you go.
Like, he's always been there. He's very seasoned, as he shows here. But, like, until basically The Menu, like, we never talked about him. I don't know if we ever talked about him in our entire lives. Like, we probably did, but not much.
Because, I memean, like, we weren't big, like, Harry Potter heads or anything like that. And a lot of people obviously talked about him as He Who Shall Not Be Named. And, yeah, and in other things that he had done beforehand. But I think you're very right. Up until The Menu, it was never like, he didn't really hit our radar on that level until The Menu.
And now here he is. I said Conclave is very heavy. This performance is immense in that regard, because he's a dean and he has to be compassionate and strong while dealing with the heaviness of what's going on here. He's just so good at that. Like I said, he's a seasoned actor. This material, he pulls it off so well. And so, like, on a technical level, like, Conclave is essentially a masterpiece, right? Like, because, directing was awesome, and, like, Ralph Fiennes gave like, my favorite performance. You've always deserved this, and now you're getting it again, although I don't know where. I think you put him number 1 last year, didn't you?
Me?
Yeah, for The Menu. Did you?
I think he was on my radar last year, but I don't think I gave him number 1, did I?
No, I don't know.
Now I'll have to go back.
I was hoping you gave him number 1, because it would be like every time he shows up, he just gets on one of our...
It's true.
Anyway.
We'll have to go back in the archives and find an answer to that question. In fact, I'm going to splice the answer in right here. And we finish the video with my number 1 Best Actor of 2024, and I feel that no actor more encompassed and more embodied the character they were playing than Kingsley Ben-Adir in Bob Marley One Love. This is also another one that holds on from the mid-years, because he was my number 1 in the mid-years, and I feel like maybe there may have been like a biased like Timothée Chalamet argument that I could have made had I seen Chalamet's other movie this year, but I only saw the big one in Dune. Kingsley Ben-Adir just so took me by storm the performance that he so becoming the embodiment of that character, and to the point where like you'll listen to him talk and listen to him talk about like learning patois and everything that he did to properly put himself in a position to best pay homage to this character and this person that means so much to so many people, and to want to do the best job in portraying this character at this portion of his life. And again, I understand that some people were really disappointed in the movie because they wanted it to be like a whole life and career retrospective, and it's like, that's not what the movie's trying to be, and that's not what the character's trying to be. But for this slice of the person's life, and for what he did to become that character and portray that character in that way, it was a foregone conclusion that Kingsley Ben-Adir was going to be in here somewhere, but I believe in that performance enough that it held on for number one.
I don't got anything there because I haven't seen it. I just had no interest, and then I was gonna watch it for you, and then I turned it on, and I was like 5 minutes in. I'm like, I don't feel like watching this, and then I just forgot about it.
Fair enough.
I might have had remembered at the end of the year. Maybe I actually sat down because I might have loved it. It's not a subject matter I care about.
Right. Fair enough.
But it's a cool pick. He's a good actor.
He is,
because he was in that movie. Wasn't he in One Night in Miami?
I believe so.
And I gave them an ensemble. I can't remember which character he played, but I remember him being obviously he was really good because I gave him an award.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Ralph Fiennes and Kingsley Ben-Adir, our number one best actors of 2024. And we've got one more video comprising the end of the people section of the awards here in 2024, and that is our best actresses of 2024. That is coming up here in just a moment, and we'll see you on the next video.